I don't
Yes.
know if you guys saw my social media, but my
I
grandson,
did.
Oh,
I
oh,
That's all
did.
right.
yep, that is
a brand new baby.
brand new Friday,
Oh,
our
wow.
first grandchild.
All right.
Oh,
All
doesn't
right,
that
Grandpa.
Yes, yes,
that
indeed.
that feel good in
How
your
you
heart?
feeling? How you feeling?
Yeah.
You know, it was funny. My wife said, "You didn't even get this emotional with our kids," and I was like, "Because we were young and scared, and I had to be strong for you. I just get to enjoy this. I can't tell you how many times I've cried, just pure joy. Just
Wow.
praise God."
That's all right. Yeah.
Yep.
Del.
Hello.
Hey, Dale.
Hello.
Hello, Del.
Oh,
Good to see you.
good to see
You.
Yes.
How's school, Dell?
Okay, not bad.
Good.
How is it today? I saw that there was a march today at the school.
What did you say?
On the news, it said some of the students walked out for a little while at lunchtime.
A protest?
Yeah, protest.
Oh yeah, protest. I know there's protest, but I don't know any like why they protesting or something. And it was chaotic at that time. There's a lot of people in the hallway and I don't even know what happened.
That
Okay,
makes sense.
we're
That
safe.
makes
We're
sense.
safe.
What were they protesting about?
New immigration policies, I'm sure.
Yes.
We
It's,
just saw America. Is America coming?
no.
Yes, she is.
Oh, there she is. She was going to be able to stay for part of the meeting.
Hey, America.
Until 6. I have another training to go to, but I wanted to hop in for a little bit.
Hey, America.
Good to see you.
Hello.
Have you talked to Penelope lately?
I have. Yes, she's doing very well.
Good.
Really
Does she
enjoy-
like her new family?
She does. So she's with the second family now. I think that they're actually going to take her on, maybe it was like a skiing trip with also like her new like host siblings. And she's like accommodating very well to being with the new family as well. She misses her
Wow.
first one, but she's still in communication with them.
Awesome.
Wow. So Anke, Dell is the Thai student who's the Rotary Youth Exchange student from Thailand.
Oh.
And America is Penelope's older sister. And Penelope is our Rotary Youth Exchange student who we sent to Belgium.
Oh, next door to Holland. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Is she enjoying it? Does she like it, being in Belgium?
America.
She loves it. Yeah.
Mhm.
She's really I think she's fully like emerged, you could say. She's doing a lot better with her language. Her mom sent us like a video of like she had to do like her Rotary speech for the club over there. And she did really well. And there's like a really cute picture of her mom and her hugging like right afterwards.
Oh,
And I know that she's been doing better with like schoolwork. She told me like she had to do like a presentation about the US in one of her classes. And obviously like it's all in French. And I think like now like sometimes when I call her, I'll hear her talking to her mom and like they're fluently going back and forth. So it's really cool to see.
Ah,
and
yeah.
Penelope's host families have actually taken her up to Amsterdam a couple of different times.
Uh-huh.
They even took her to Morocco.
Wow.
To where?
To Morocco in Africa.
Morocco. Oh, Morocco. Okay. Okay. Well, that's not too far, so it's possible. Yeah. So, yeah,
It
but
seems like it's far to us.
well, yeah, because for you, you'd have to first fly to probably Spain or Portugal and then go south. Italy, yeah.
But even from Belgium, it seems like it's a long way.
Okay.
I don't think it would be any farther than from Washington to the southern part of California. I think at the most
Okay.
that far, you know.
Okay.
Well, it is 5:35. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So let's get started. Welcome. We have a lot of guests. So welcome America, Dell, and Anke. Anke, we'll give you a formal introduction in a minute. And is that going to be you, Lynette?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready? Pledge. I pledge allegiance of America,
United States of America, and to the
the
republic
republic for which it stands,
One nation
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome. Thank you for that. We'll do a quick introduction. Well, I kind of just did it, but so it's just us today. So quick introduction of guests. America, it's Penelope's sister. So glad to have you here. Yvonne, are you there? She may be busy. And Dell, as you know, Anke is our foreign exchange student from Thailand. She's doing amazing, we hear. And then Anke, I don't want to keep you any longer. I think we'll have Lynette give you a formal introduction, and love to hear what you have to say.
And first of all, this presentation that Anke is going to give is going to be very informal. And so it would really be best if people have questions for her. I have questions for her too. I have known Anke, gosh, it's probably been 20 years.
25 years. I think it was early 2000 when I first met you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies.
When you're having fun.
Yeah,
What time is it in Sri Lanka right now, Anke?
Yes. Say this, the time is 7 in the morning, or a little bit after 7.
Wow.
Right now we're 13 and a half hours ahead of you. And after March, it will be 12 and a half hours. That's a bit easier to count, because then you only have an hour difference, but on the other side.
So Anke Brady and Lynn Schoten, is that how you say your Lynn Schoten?
Lynn Schoten.
Okay, I can never say it that way. Was born in 1939 in Amsterdam. She was one of 2 children, and during World War II, her family actually hid families in their home. She said that there were always families, and she's going to talk about that, and she's going to talk about what it was like being a child when the Nazis were occupying Amsterdam. After the war, her father actually worked as an investigator of Nazi collaborators. He died shortly after that, and her mother ended up supporting the 2 of them on her own, which had to have been very difficult. Her mother was a dancer, and or not as a profession, but she danced, right?
No, I
You were a dancer. So Anke took ballet dancing, and yeah, she eventually ended up, and I never knew this until I was looking at her bio, as one of the original French Lido dancers at the Stardust Hotel in Las Vegas. And that's
it was nothing I was proud of, to tell you the truth.
And that's where she met her husband. And what was his profession?
He was a civil engineer.
And as a civil engineer, they ended up living in all over the United States, and then they ended up living in other countries, including, as she had mentioned, Saudi Arabia. And one of the places that they lived in was Sri Lanka. So she's back at Sri Lanka now, but this is not her first rodeo with Sri Lanka. Part of the reason why she ended up in Sri Lanka was that when her husband got sick, they decided to go there to because it was less expensive for his treatment. And he eventually died. And she ended up in San Jose at the height of the Silicon Valley boom. And she ended up taking some classes and became what's called a layout designer for microchips. So she ended up training herself to do this, and she worked for several different companies, first Intel, Cypress Semiconductor, and then she became a freelancer in 1990 and worked for Sun Microsystems, Oracle, Intel again, and Qualcomm, and a whole bunch of other companies. And then she retired in 2018, took a whole year to travel around the world. And she ended up taking care of her brother, who was 2 years older than her. He had dementia, and they ended up in Sri Lanka so that she could take care of him. And that's where she is right now. So tell us about your story, Anke.
Well, I think you're mostly interested in the war time, and I was quite small. And my parents were very good at keeping things away from us. But what I found later on was that I remember the sense of fear. And that's quite kind of surprising, because my parents were really very good at keeping me away from the danger. They always had people in the house, and we were not supposed to talk about it, but I didn't know that. And at one time, we had a couple in the house, and their Jewish names were Malp and Tali. Talia Malp is a very Jewish name in Holland, so is Talia. So I told someone, I have an aunt and an uncle. Their name is Bart and Gret, but they're also Malp and Tali. Well, the lady came to my mom and she said, you have to be very careful. If that had been the wrong person I had told that to as a child, my parents would have been gone. They would have been picked up, sent to a concentration camp, and probably not come back. Or maybe shot, because some of them were shot. But luckily it was the right person. As a child, I remember in the war seeing a plane coming down in flames. It was a small plane. And it must have been later in the war when the Allies flew across to Germany. And I was even wondering about it. And I was thinking, did they even fly that far north? Because they went to France first, but maybe they did. I don't know. I just remembered seeing a plane being shot down and coming down in flames from my balcony. And I don't think I myself have really that much of a pain of the war, because, like I say, I was very much protected. However, after the war, I grew up with two boys. We didn't live in the same house, but we did everything together. They were two Jewish boys. The mother was Jewish, the father was not. They both the parents were in the underground. The father was, and towards the end of the war, the father was picked up and shot. And the mother, I think it must have been 1947, she committed suicide. And I don't really know why. But the older boy, who was about a year and a half older than I was, these two boys were named Peter and Wouter. Peter was a year and a half older than I was. Wouter was 5 years younger than I was. He was born in 1944. And he actually came to our house as a baby of 2 months old on his fourth hiding address. And to think that a baby, a brand new baby, has to hide because otherwise he can be poisoned, gassed, whatever, that they did to babies. It's just incredible. It's undescribably horrid. Anyway, he was in our house, and I think he probably was in our house till the end of the war, because I remember that he was getting bigger. But again, I was 6 when the war finished, so my memory is kind of vague of that period. But Peter was he was born in 1937. So when the war started, he was about 3 years old. I'm not sure at what age his parents sent him to a farm, but eventually he was sent to live with a farm family to hide him. So he lived with that family all during the war. So that child must have had horrible thoughts of, why did they send me away? Then after the war, his mom, of course, got him, and he lived again with his mom. But then his mom committed suicide. Now, over the years, Peter has always been a normal, he reacted normal. His mother's sister raised the 2 boys, and Mipi was one of the people who hid in our house during the war for quite a while. She was supposedly my mother's housekeeper. My mother never could have had a housekeeper in her life. She didn't have the money for that. But we had a housekeeper. And my mom went out quite a bit on selling items that Jewish people made during the war in hiding. They made handbags, they made toys. And my mom would sell those to stores. So my mom was gone a lot. And my mom also went on what they called hunger trips. The last year of the war was a hunger winter where people starved to death because there was not enough food. And we always had enough. But I do remember it was very little. But my mother had a brother who was a baker. So every so often my mom got some bread from him. And my father's sister was married to a dairy farmer. So every so often we got milk or butter or eggs. And eggs were, I was a little girl, and eggs were a rarity. We never ate eggs because the Germans took everything during the war. They took all the produce, they took all the items, and especially the last winter, they took everything. But I remember getting a bite from an egg because my father was feeding the baby an egg. And that's why I know he must have been older as a little toddler. And I got a bite from that egg. And that was so wonderful. I mean, today to think that you would think a bite from an egg would be so wonderful, because I have now all these eggs, all the eggs I want in the refrigerator, and I can use 10 eggs if I want 10 eggs for a recipe. But that time, 1 egg was for the baby, and I got a bite. And maybe my brother did too, I don't know. But anyway, so these are parts of the war. But to get back to Peter, the last times I came to Holland, I couldn't use the word mippie or he'd blow up. He is so angry that mippie raised him. And I don't understand his anger. But then I started thinking back to, he was sent away to a farm when he was little to be in hiding. Then he saw his mother again, and then his mother disappeared again. That must have been horrible for a young kid. By the time his mom died, he must have been 9, or maybe even 10. No, I was 8, so he was 9.5 or close to 10. That must have been horrific for a child. And now, after all those years, it comes out, his anger comes out. And that's what a war does. A war is never finished. A war continues in so many different ways. And that's one of the reasons why when, and I don't know how any of you feel about Trump, but when he came into power, that really frightened me, because I've lived and I've heard the stories of my parents' friends, because the circle of people that were around my parents were all in the underground. The people that were friends with my parents after the war, I heard so many stories of things that happened to people during the war, and things they did, that it was as if I was in that war. I wasn't, as I was too little, really. But I know that the feeling of the war, and I know the aftermath that the war does. It's never finished. So what's happening today with the immigrants? Just a moment, I'm busy. And what's happening with the immigrants at the moment is horrific to me, because people are going to be thrown out of this country. And they have all contributed to this country. People who come here as immigrants, they work usually very hard. So to me, I'm pretty scared about the whole thing. But anyway, to come back to the war, it's another funny thing that happened to me years and years later. After my husband died, I had a very good friend, and we went to a movie, and it was about South Africa before the apartheid disappeared. It was a true story about an English journalist who was persecuted. He was writing about what was going on with the Black people, and he was being, the government wanted to lock him up, so he had to escape, and he went back to England. He escaped to England, but his family was left behind. And at one point, the police come in the house, and the wife is in his office room, and she's standing by his desk, and she just does something with her hand. She just moves something with her hand, but standing up. And it was as if something was triggered in my mind, and I have never really figured out what. But I just started crying, because all of a sudden I saw that I totally felt that fear that she had with that police in her house. And I remembered my mom. It was something my mom did, and I've never been able to figure out why I was so emotional about that. Just a little movement with the hand, nothing else. But something came in that I think these kind of things always remain in people's minds. The war, the terror, the oppression. And even though I was very much protected, I still, know that feeling of fear of what people had in those days. I can't say that I suffered at all. We, again, my parents were fantastic. Many times we had to give up our bed, but it was not it was not bad at all, because my mom would say, "Oh, tonight you get to sleep in a what do you call it? A fair where there are merry-go-rounds and
a carnival?
A carnival. Tonight you get to sleep in a carnival bed." And that was so exciting. Well, a carnival bed, but 2 chairs pushed together, and we could sleep in a carnival bed, So my parents were fabulous people to make things like that special. Yeah, we had to give up our bed, but we got to sleep in a carnival bed, So I think I was very lucky as a child to have the parents that I had, how they cared for us, how they loved us and kept us protected. So.
Anke, how old were you when you figured out what had happened during the war? When you found out about the Jewish people, when you found out about the concentration camps, when you found out about all of that?
I think probably pretty soon after the war, because that was talked about so much. And especially in the circles of my mom, because she had a lot of Jewish friends who never came back, who disappeared. And for instance, Mipi was one of 4 sisters. Her mother was called Moeke. And Moeke stayed at my mom's house at one point. Well, Steve, the father of Peter and Wouter, was in the underground. And he came to my mom's house and he said, we have to move Moeke because there is a leak somewhere. So he moved her to another address. Well, she was picked up from there and sent to a concentration camp and never came back. It turned out the leak was a Jewish man. It was a Jewish man who had been picked up by the Gestapo and let go. And I've always said, you cannot judge. You don't know what that man went through. He might have been tortured, I don't know. He might have been threatened with torture, whatever. And not everybody is as strong as some other people. And the difficult thing in my mother's friends was that it was a brother of a friend of my mom. Her name was Riek, and was her brother. And she and her husband were friends of my parents. And Miep, of course, was also a friend of my parents. And Miep was one of 4 sisters. So the mother was picked up, and a brother with 4 children and his wife picked up, disappeared, never came back. So that's a lot of pain that you have after the war. So Miep and Riek lived in the same part of town. They both came to my mom's house because they were both friends of my mom. But I didn't realize it as a child, but later on I realized there was a real, from Miep towards Riek, not a hatred, but a feeling of your brother did that,
Betrayal.
Yeah. And my mom felt terrible because she was Steve took her away from our house to another address, and there she was picked up and never came back. So I think I don't remember when I figured it out, but there was so much talk about what happened during the war that was just part of my culture, and my mom, who was a wonderful person and never committed violence or anything. But I remember her saying after the war, when things became better, and German people would come to Amsterdam, and then she would hear them say, "Ja, ich war hier einmal. I was here once." She could just feel like she wanted to slash their tires, She never did. But it's understandable, the hatred that people felt for the Germans for the things they did. And that is the surprising thing. There was a lot of anti-German feeling for a long time after the war. And years later, I came back to Holland, and Peter, the older of the 2 brothers, had become a counselor of, it's a particular technique. It has to be with the position you are in the family. And he had become a counselor in that field. And he had gone to Germany to teach. And I thought, Peter, you go to Germany to teach? And he said, well, people have changed. And I think Germany has changed nowadays. It's not what it used to be. not too long after the war, it was very much like wir haben es nicht gewusst. We didn't know what was going on. Well, we knew what was going on. So the Germans must have known what was going on too. And it was that quiet allowance, that not fighting it, allowing Hitler to come to power and allowing him to become as ugly as he did. And that is my fear with Trump, because what Trump is doing is very similar to what Hitler did in his first days of power, what he's doing at the moment. So, yeah, I was, when Trump was elected, I stuck my head in the ground for a couple of months and I didn't want to hear any news because it was just too horrific for me. Anyway, that's my opinion, and I realize that's just my opinion, not everybody's, but to me it's very scary because I see a parallel. So anyway.
Anke, I want to first off thank you, and I really appreciate the fact of you mentioning all the names, because it really brings it home. It makes it personal, and I still see that it evokes emotion in you,
Oh yeah,
as it should. But I also think it is also timely because what you're saying about our current administration and everything that's occurring, you know, I can't tell how often we hear people say, we've been through this before as a world, right? Like these things have happened before, and you know, the silence of allowing certain people come into power, it's scary.
it's very funny.
Yes, very much so. So, you know, I just want to thank you for your story because I think it's timely. I think more people need to hear it because, you know, history should not repeat itself, but we are in a scary time right now. And it's important for all of us to hear these stories of history, these very personal and real stories of history. So I just want to thank you for sharing that because it's more time now than it has been in a very long time.
Yeah, it's what I read at the moment. I've taken my head out of the sand and I started reading again, but it's very scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there are people that I know are illegal, and they're hardworking people. They're having families. They work hard. They contribute. And you know what gets me? If you're an illegal laborer and you work in a job where you get a salary, you pay taxes. Mm-hmm. So you contribute to this country, but you don't get any benefits because you're illegal, you know? And to me, that's horrific. You know, these people will give so much to come here and to give their children a better life. I'm talking about here, but I'm not in the States. I'm in Sri Lanka. But I mean here when I've lived too long in the States to not feel like I'm part of that, you know?
Yep.
So.
Yep. I mean, anyway. United States, we are a country of immigrants, and we should not forget that.
Exactly, yeah. And so many immigrants have worked very hard to get where they are, you know, and really work as hard as they can. And I think most of it is to do that, to give their children a better future. I think most immigrants come with that aim, you know. Yeah, and maybe there are some, you know, villains in between them, but I would say the majority of the immigrants are good people.
Yep.
One of the reasons why I asked Anke to do this is because, what are you, 86 years old now? 80, how old
80,
are you? 80.
I'm 80, yeah.
And the people who can tell these stories about World War II, there aren't that many left. She was young when all of this happened, but the ones who were a little bit older. We just don't.
Yeah.
I think that we really do need to hear these stories.
The people who were in the underground, I think, are pretty much all gone because they were, well, Audrey Hepburn did things for the underground. You know,
Did she
was,
really?
Yeah, she was a courier. And I think she was 15 or 16, but still, that's 10, 15 years older than I am. So that would be 96, 100. And there aren't any of those around anymore. So I think most of
and I'll also say it's, you know, beyond this country, what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on
that's
in
Ukraine,
Russia, in Ukraine. There's a lot of parallels, right? That that really are reminded me of the, you know, World War II time. You know, dictators. So again, a very timely discussion, and I really appreciate you sharing. And your parents are heroes. I know it probably didn't seem like that when you were 6, but you know what they did during the war in the underground and after investigating these people, heroic.
You know, my parents were socialists, and when I came to the United States, socialist was a dirty word, and I always think they were not religious, but they put their life on the line for other people. And I asked my mom once, were you not scared? And she said, well, yeah, but you couldn't leave somebody out on the street. You just couldn't, you know, you had to take them in because you couldn't. So they had a heart. And I think, you know, I don't care whether you're Christian or Catholic or Muslim or whatever, Buddhist. Some people have a heart and some people don't. And some people are just frightened and they don't dare to do that, those kind of things. And I understand that too, because I don't, when Mipi was old, she was in an old people's home and I was visiting her there. And I said, you know, Miep, I don't know if I would have had the courage to do what my parents did. And she said, I don't know if I would have, you know. So I don't know if I would have had the courage to do what my parents did. But I do know that I admire my parents very highly, very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I told Anke that she was welcome to join us for the rest of the meeting if she wanted, but that she didn't have to.
Yeah, absolutely. You're more than welcome.
I think my Zoom meeting it said it was only going to be for 40 minutes. So I might be locked out of it all of a sudden. I don't know.
No, we have a special account, but yeah.
Okay. Then I'll stay.
Yeah, we have some housekeeping items, but I just want to thank you again. I know I needed this. And it was a great reminder, and I want to thank you again.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome. I didn't really want to talk at first because I've never spoken public in my life. And so we decided that Lynette would ask me questions. So
awesome.
Yeah, I really twisted her arm for this. She didn't want to do it, but I just said, you need to do this. People need to hear these stories.
Yep.
Thank you, Lynette.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, thanks.
So Anke, I don't know whether you noticed, but America put a little heart up on her Zoom.
So it is now.
Okay, so are we moving on to the next item?
Yes.
Okay. Wow, nothing's gonna follow that up. But so how about Joanne, you want to talk about Arden Arcade's 70th Charter Night and speech contest?
Yes. Arden Arcade is going to be celebrating their 70th Charter Night. They've invited us to attend. It's $75 a person. I really need to know, hopefully by tomorrow, who's available to go. It's Friday. Sorry. Let's see, today is the
I think it's the
21st.
21st. On Friday, the 21st. So far, it's Steve, I, Denise, and Alan are going.
Could you reiterate the significance of that club and ours?
Sure. Art and Arcade was chartered by Ray McClure, who was Steve's partner for a while. Ray was a past president of our club, and then he became the charter president of Art and Arcade. So our club sponsored them. They're one of our babies. We have quite a few, and we're hoping that we'll get all of our little children to come to our 100th centennial. So we feel it's kind of important that we have a presence there. Denise is going to scope out what kind of an event they have for $75, because that's what we're going to be charging for ours. And it'll be at Del Paso Country Club. And I see there's a question. Oh, got Yvonne sent a chat that she and Ross want to attend. So Yvonne, I'll give you a call to get your menu choices for the event.
Yep.
That's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I hope as a lot of people can go. I unfortunately or fortunately cannot, because I will be in North Carolina seeing my grandson. So
that's kind of important, I guess, you know.
Yep.
And so we'll try to get a table together. I'm hoping, I don't know if there's tables of 8 or 10, but we'll try to see if we can fill a table. The other item I think you had was speech contest.
Yep. Before you get that though, could I have America make a quick comment, and then we'll get right back to you, Joanne?
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Roman. I do have to step out. I have like a work training to go to, but I just wanted to, Anke, thank you for sharing your story. I think that it's incredibly powerful to hear from like lived experience. And yeah, I don't know if I can say much without really like getting too emotional. My mom is undocumented, and you know, we have like a mixed family household, and I think that fear is definitely like a common sentiment right now. And it's scary to think like history does repeat itself. I think people are not conscious of like, you know, even like I think all of the executive orders that are coming out, like it's going to affect everyone whether they want to accept it or not. But yes, like I don't know if I can say much more, but just thank you for sharing your story with us.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, America, and we're here for you and your family.
Thank you.
Ooh. Okay, Joanne, speech contest for Molly.
Yes, speech contest is Tuesday coming up, the 12th. We're hoping that members will attend. It's at 3 p.m. at Grant High School. We're going to need help from our members to be judges. Molly will be the timekeeper. Not too sure how many contestants we'll actually have at this point, but it's a max of 5 speeches that we'll be listening to, and hopefully get a really good candidate to go forward to the next level, and maybe get someone who actually wins, because this year the speech contestant and a parent will get an all expense paid trip to the district conference in Disneyland.
Wow.
So
did you say the 12th at what time?
at 3 o'clock, Grant High School Library.
I'm showing Tuesday as the 11th. So is it Wednesday the 12th?
I thought it was on, oh, it's Ryla, I guess, is on Tuesday morning. So yeah, on
On the 12th.
it's
It's the 12th. It's the 12th.
which is Wednesday. So
At 11.
at 3 p.m. in
3
the
p.m.
Grant High School Library.
Okay, I might be able to make that. I will confirm tomorrow at work.
That'd be great.
Okay.
When was Ryla, Joanne?
The 18th. And that should be a Tuesday, correct?
That is a Tuesday.
Okay. And we'll need some people for that. We're also on the 17th in the morning. Both of those dates are in the morning. We'll be interviewing Penelope.
Oh,
And she would
And
also have to go to Rhode.
Anke, just so that this RILA that we're talking about, that's Youth Leadership Camp. We have juniors from Grant High School that we send to a leadership camp for Rotary. And there are hundreds of kids, aren't there, at this RILA camp?
Each camp is about 110, 119. There's just 2 camps this year. So
But they get to meet kids from all over Northern California and Nevada. So it's quite the experience for them.
That's great.
Yeah. And America was actually one of our speech contestants 2 years in a row when she was in high school.
and she went to Ryla.
and she went
to RILA. Yes.
And now she's a college graduate, and her younger sister is one of our exchange students. So, and you just heard her say her mother is undocumented and has raised them by herself. So it is an incredible journey.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, Roman, she also works for a nonprofit helping women farm workers. So
Yep.
she took her degree from Berkeley. She graduated from Berkeley, and that's what she's doing now.
She graduated from UCLA.
Davis. Okay, so if nothing else, Steve, do you have an update on the SoCal fire relief efforts fundraising?
Well, I was going to say, you know, we've now heard of a family that gave a lot during the war, and we're being asked to give a little to help out all these people who have suffered a lot in Southern California. In fact, I'd like to know that the Folsom Club sponsored a drive, and they sent a semi full of relief items down to Southern California. Our little club, though, is putting up $2,000 to match our members' giving, and I still got a little bit left. So if you want to give some money to help out these people, it goes through Rotary in Southern California. So let me know, and our club will match you.
Have you heard anything more from Shelter Box?
No, that was we hopefully the Shelter Box is going to deal directly with those districts that are impacted down there. And Shelter Box America, which is not the parent company, is now a partner with Rotary. And they were going to put up grants for the money to those districts who are raising money. So our money would go to those districts and Shelter Box would match it there. That's our hope, at least.
Okay.
Awesome. If there is nothing else for the good of the order,
There is something else, Roman.
yes.
Roman.
Happening certainly around the middle of the month.
Roman.
Well, I wasn't there yet. I haven't forgotten. I have it written down. So, and I'm glad we are still here because, well, I can see Joanne and Lynette and Daryl. So, next weekend, the 15th, we are having a little Valentine's dance and get together at my house. And it's perfect timing because I think it's well needed. It is Heart Month and Peace Month, and so looking forward to have a good time. Daryl and Tyra, looking forward to seeing you, Lynette and Mark, Steve and Joanne. So
Yvonne and Ross.
Is Yvonne and Ross coming too?
I hope so.
It was Tyra's idea, Daryl.
Oh, we'll be there.
No,
Yeah,
it was
they already
Tyra.
sent me their songs.
Yeah, remember?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So
Remember when
looking
she,
forward to
when
have
she mentioned it?
a really good time. We're going to be making a little playlist. We're going to have I think we're trying to set up a little photo area. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, it's good.
Fun time.
Yvonne, are you coming?
You know what? I'm not sure yet. I need to confirm with my other half.
So
Hope you are.
We're looking forward to it, and we're happy to host as many as we can. Um, moving on, do we have any happy finds? I know I do.
Yes,
I know I
you
do.
Are you going to pay by the pound?
7 pounds, 15 ounces. But I will gladly throw 20 in for that. I was 1 ounce off, and I was only because we had a little pool amongst ourselves. I was 1 ounce off. And I was only about 12 minutes off on the time of birth, too. I was more,
Wow.
yeah, I was more close than anyone else.
Wow. Well,
So,
I have a happy find.
well,
First of all-
hold on, I'm not done yet.
You're not done. Oh,
I haven't even
okay.
got to announce it officially.
Okay.
So my happy find is for the birth of our first grandchild. Happy, healthy, praise God. We are looking forward to seeing him the weekend of the 21st. And on that same day that he was born last Friday, our daughter, who got her engineering degree in December, and just is super independent, and I'm not complaining about it, refused to move home because I paid her last month's rent. And I was like, well, you kind of need to come home because I'm not paying rent anymore. She moved into her own apartment that day, got her keys, and is doing phenomenal. So we are very happy and very blessed. So that is my happy find.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
Hey.
So I have a happy find. First of all, I'm happy that Anke was able to join us here all the way from Sri Lanka.
Yay.
Technology is amazing. But the other happy find that I have was about the peace conference that we had in Rohnert Park. There were 350 people there.
Wow.
We had all kinds of speakers, and I was a breakout speaker for one of the breakout sessions, and I did a presentation on cognitive bias. And as a result of that, I've been invited to other districts to do the same presentation on cognitive bias in other districts. So that was really cool. Barry Rassin, a former Rotary International president, was there, and a whole bunch of other inspiring people. So that's my happy find.
Awesome. Good stuff.
I have a happy find too. Everybody knows how hard I've been working in trying to really grow this business that I've challenged myself with. And I have to say that I saw a significant growth in January. So last year, January, I had the privilege of serving 11 families. This last January this year, I had the privilege of serving 20.
Wow.
So it's growing and it's thriving, and I'm just excited. And so that's my happy find.
Awesome.
Great job.
Thank
And
you.
I'm very happy that Dell was able to join us tonight on Zoom. That was great. We missed seeing you in person, but and look forward to our first meeting in March when Dell is going to do similar to Penelope and give her talk to the club. That's on your calendar, right, Dell? Well, forward to hearing about your life in Taiwan,
Thailand.
and how it compares to here. Oh, and we'll probably be back at the pizza restaurant. So we won't be at the one that you've been coming to. I'll be sure you get the new address. We're going to change locations. And so everybody remember that our meeting in 2 weeks is going to be at Pete's Brew House. We'll be back there.
Yay!
And I guess my other happy find is that we're actually moving stuff out of the building, cleaning out closets, and getting ready to get the U-Haul for Lynette. No, just kidding. But we're getting there. We're getting there. We may actually get closed down here. Okay.
So on Friday, while my daughter-in-law was giving birth, I was on my way to Oregon, and we had a phenomenal fishing trip on the Rogue River. Put some steelhead in the boat, all catch and release. So, but it was a phenomenal experience, a world-class steelhead river. So that was an awesome experience. I had to pull over because I got so emotional. We pulled over in the little town of Dunsmuir in,
Mm,
in California near the Oregon border.
the best water in the world.
Oh, we found the best cafe because I had to catch up on text messages and tell my mom, but we found the best cafe and it was an awesome experience. So awesome, in fact, that we stopped there on the way back. So,
Very cool.
yep. Joanne, I don't know how we would do the draw today. So I guess we'll postpone that to the next one.
Yeah, till the live meeting.
We'll draw it for anybody who bought their raffle ticket today.
Right?
No, we'll have one at the next meeting on the 20th at Pete's Brew House.
Oh, awesome. Looking forward to that. I also will not be there because I'll be in North Carolina. Um, but if there is nothing else for the good of the order, Anka, I really want to thank you again. Your story and your message could not have much more perfect timing. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Anka, I just got a message from America. She wants to know if I can give your information so that she can contact you. Would you be okay with that?
That's fine.
Okay. All right.
Awesome. I love these connections. So, if there is nothing else for the good of the order, we will conclude tonight's meeting. So, thank you very much. Thank you again, Anka. Thank you, Dell, for being here. Everyone have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.